The formation of the Grand Canyon was partly a result of millions of years of water carving out the steep, rocky walls. But there was another force at play, deep beneath the surface. About 20 million years ago, the oceanic plate began moving north relative to the North American plate. Heat built up under the Maugean Highlands, southwest of the canyon. The Earth's crust began stretching. Over millions of years, vast areas of land deformed and cracked, sheared upward, or snapped down. The Maugean Highlands fell thousands of feet. Huge basins appeared on low-lying land. Today, geologists call it the Basin and Range Province. Rock layers that were once horizontal are now almost vertical. The region tilted and then collapsed. Ancient history is written in the orientation of every outcrop. The collapse redrew the topography of the region. Before, the highlands to the south towered several thousand feet over the Colorado Plateau. After the collapse, the Basin and Range area was almost half a mile lower. It was a major piece in the scientific puzzle. The rivers may have changed direction because the whole landscape changed. And these ancient rivers may have played a role in carving out the canyon. It's a theory scientists are still exploring. Then, sometime after the collapse, a new river formed, the Colorado. Scientists are divided on how the Colorado River came into existence. They have two conflicting scenarios. The river either worked its way across the plateau from southwest to northeast by headward erosion, or the other way around, by spillover. For the spillover theory to work, they'd have to find evidence of a lake, and it's likely to be in the east, where the elevation is higher. Today, there is no lake, but there are 200 feet of green layered deposits. Remnants of an ancient lake called Lake Pederson. The deposits indicate the existence of a lake, but they don't show how the lake overspilled and carved the canyon. John Douglas, geography professor at Paradise Valley Community College in Arizona, wanted an effective way to test the theory. He built a small-scale model of the Grand Canyon to demonstrate how the lake could have overflowed. Douglas suggests that Lake Pederson drained and formed a stream. The steep gradient of the riverbed caused the stream to cut deep into the rock. Over time, the size of the stream increased, and more water poured out of the lake, which in turn cut deeper and deeper into the rock. But not all geologists agree. They say there is no evidence of there ever being a lake large enough to carve the Grand Canyon. At present, there is still no definitive answer as to how the river came into existence. What we do know is that when it began flowing around 4.5 million years ago, it cut a 1-mile deep scar in the surface. For a river to cut an entire canyon in just 5 million years is considered lightning speed by geological standards. It's what Joel Pederson of Utah State University is trying to understand.
The information that we collect from this, what we're doing is we're relating it to the history of the river. And so what the river is doing is, in the past, as it's eroding, it is also stopping sometimes and depositing sediment.
Pederson is interested in finding out how fast the canyon erodes. He uses a technique called luminescence dating. This uses light to measure the age of a rock. It works on sediments containing minerals, quartz or feldspar, that have been buried in the dark. As sediment builds up, it is gradually sealed away from the sun. Pederson measures the amount of luminescence a sample gives off when exposed to light. This method can date sediments between a few hundred to several 100,000 years old.
We're collecting sediment that hasn't yet seen light, and the metal tube prevents it from seeing light. And we pull the tube out and take it back to the laboratory.
In the laboratory, scientists expose the samples of ancient river sediments to specific wavelengths of light. This energy excites the electrons in the sediment. Some respond by releasing their own energy in the form of light. And this minute signal is measured. The greater the response from the particles, the longer they spent buried.
So it's telling us that moment in time, how many years ago it was, that the river actually deposited that sediment and then buried it under more sediment so it couldn't see light anymore.
When Pederson measured the incision rates along the whole length of the river, he found something unexpected. 179 miles downstream, the canyon appeared less deep. Something changed and lessened the river's cutting power. Could it be that the river lost its power due to changes beneath the land itself? To find out, we have to go back 3.5 million years to when the Colorado Plateau ruptured and created a deep chasm across the canyon. It's called the Toroweap Fault. Tectonic activity along the fault slowly lowered the land of the plateau to the west. And as the land fell away, it weakened the cutting power of the river flowing over it. Carl Karlstrom explains with this loaf of bread.
We'll imagine this loaf of bread as a stack of rocks that is going to be incised by the river to be the Grand Canyon. And we'll imagine this knife as the Colorado River itself, which over time can erode through even the hardest rocks to form a canyon. But many times there's a break in the crust called a fault. And so if I incise the river at the same time that I'm moving one block down, and I think you can see this if I turn it up like this, and you can see that on one side the canyon is quite deep and on the other much less deep.
Scientists had their answer. The river stayed the same, but the land west of the Toroweap Fault sank lower and so escaped the full cutting force of the water. The Colorado River has cut a masterpiece of a canyon. It created a gorge so big that all of the river water in the world would fill the canyon to just over a third. Every drop in the river has in some ways shaped the landscape here. But water does far more than destroying rocks. Without the river, the current plant and animal life would struggle to survive. It was the river which first attracted early settlers here. But it is the canyon it helped to carve that continues to attract visitors to this day. It is one of the natural wonders of the world. A monument to the age-old colossal forces that created it.